everyone, it's episode 13 of the Real Estate SpeedCast. I'm here with Juan Castro as always. Juan, say
Juan
hello.
is here and Nancy is in outer space because there is a delay when she talks.
So my
So she
camera's
is
doing one
very far
thing,
away.
my camera's doing one thing, my lips are doing another thing, and we'll just figure this out as we go.
That
But
sounds perfect to me. What are we talking about today?
today I want to talk about what we think buyers and sellers should know before even contacting a realtor, before buying or selling, right? Maybe some myths that they're hearing, and we just kind of give some truth to things.
Yes. So in my mind, the first thing a buyer should do is see what they can get pre-approved for, like we talked about earlier. And then you talked about just because you're pre-approved for your a number, it doesn't mean that's your budget, right? So did you want to allude to that?
Yeah, so your pre-approval is that top number where you can purchase a home, right? But say the bank says I can purchase $800,000. But me, I like to buy shoes and I like to go on vacation. So that $800,000 house may not fit into my personal budget, right? And that could be a different number. Maybe my personal budget is 400,000. And then I can
Yeah.
buy all the shoes, I can go on vacation, I could go out to dinner and do all the things and live my life. Other people, that top budget, maybe that is that top pre-approval, maybe their budget. Maybe they're okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally,
Maybe you don't need to use your top of your budget because you don't need a 5 bedroom, 4 bathroom house.
right. But you need shoes.
Yeah. I mean, you need shoes. But maybe the buyer only needs a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, and they can find it well below their budget, like you said.
Right.
So I guess what we're looking at is the first thing a buyer should do is get pre-approved and know the numbers.
Know what that monthly payment is, because that monthly payment, then they can say, well, I really don't want to spend $5,000 a month. I really only want to spend 3,500 a month on my
Yeah,
housing payment, right?
yeah,
Then that's where the difference between the pre-approval and your actual personal budget comes in.
yeah. And then when they
A
know
good one.
that,
I got a good one for you.
yeah,
Talk about what we see online. Redfin Estimate, Zillow, Zestimate. What is that number and is it accurate?
okay. So those are algorithms that whatever range they're using, whether it's a mile, 2 miles, they're throwing everything in a bucket, dividing it by the footage, and coming up with an estimate or a box,
Right.
kind of like Kelly Blue Book does with a car.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you go to the car dealer and you think your Corolla's worth $15,000 and they give you a range of 11 to 13.
right. They said somebody hit the back of your car,
You got a
or
scratch.
stains
Yeah.
on your seats.
Yeah. So I think the key with the algorithms is they give you a range within 3, maybe 5% of what it would probably fall at what the computer thinks. But the computer
Now,
does not know. Does it have a pool? Does it not have a pool? Is it remodeled? Is it not remodeled? It doesn't know the roof is new, the roof is not new. It doesn't know those things.
doesn't know anything about the house, so it's just basically maybe a price per square foot or in bedroom count and taking that neighborhood, surrounding neighborhoods and giving you, it really is just an estimate, but we would give them more of a true value. What we
Correct.
believe
Yeah.
in our professional opinion what the value of the property is.
Yeah, we would range price a house based on what we believe the appraiser would be looking at
Right,
to try to interpret what he or she might say to defend the price of the house.
right. Speaking of
So
that,
yeah,
let's go into the next one. Another good one. What is the role of the appraiser?
the appraiser's job is to support and defend the contract price.
Right. No more than that, right? Like
That's
when they
it.
get to that purchase price, the home could be worth more, but they're going to just stop, right?
Yes.
What else?
They're going to defend the price.
Got another one for me?
I would like for you to tell me a little bit about what is the loan commitment period and what does the inspection mean? Like, what is the inspection process?
Okay, so let's start with inspection because that's typically the first contingency we come across, right? So we put in, let's say, 10-day inspection period. That gives the buyer the right to inspect the property and or cancel during that 10 days, correct? That's how our
Yes.
contract reads. That is not a time to renegotiate the purchase price of the home. That's for the buyer to have a certified licensed inspector to go in so they know what they're purchasing. And then they can decide to move forward or not. But they can ask for repairs and some sellers will do that, but they don't have to. Correct?
Correct. You are correct. So the inspector's job is to tell the buyer what is the condition of the house, and hopefully the buyer has been able to see and interpret what they thought was true is true.
Right.
And if it's not true, if there's a surprise, then sometimes we can ask the seller for help.
Yeah. To fix it, concessions, but it's not really the time, especially if it's something you saw. So really quick, I had a listing and it was clear that the pool needed to be resurfaced. We talked about it prior to the offer being written. It is being sold as is. The seller is not resurfacing the pool. Okay. We go under contract. They do the home inspection. They ask for $10,000 at home inspection to resurface the pool. Not the time to negotiate that. It's not something that was hidden. It was something obvious. It was something we talked about. And the purchase agreement was based on the pool already needing to be resurfaced.
Yeah.
Said no. They still moved on. But that's what I mean. It's not a time to say, okay, lower the price now.
Yeah.
You knew this already. It's not a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And
So,
then loan commitment. So I think we should let people know what loan commitment is, who's it for, and why is it important to know your loan is pre-approved before the commitment date.
okay, so pre-approval is before offer typically. But then we want a commitment, which is different because they're going through underwriting, right? And they're diving deeper into those finances. So when they get their pre-approval, a lot of times their tax returns were not looked at. Like a lot of things were not looked at. Not everything was looked at. Their job, if they're relocating, sometimes that pre-approval state, their income matches. But if they're transferring to Florida, all these things need to be approved by the underwriter, right? They need that
Yeah.
letter of transfer. There's surprises that come up during underwriting. So the commitment period where the loan is contingent on them getting that final approval is different than a pre-approval. A pre-approval is just that it's pre-approved, but it's not final.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. And then if the loan commitment period, like the default in our contract is 30 days.
Right.
So what we do is we make sure the lender has told us in writing that the buyer has a loan commitment
Mhm.
before the 30th day, or we ask for an extension of it because if it hits day 31, it's
It's
automatically deemed
gone.
acceptable. And then if the lender comes back on day 37 and says, I'm sorry, we can't approve you now because the loan program changed,
Right.
now you cancel and you can't get your deposit back based on the loan commitment period
Right. Right. That's
or the denial of the loan.
it's important as a buyer's agent, even though we have a transaction coordinator, that we're on top of
Yeah,
contingency, so we're protecting the buyer's money, right?
yeah,
You know what, another thing that we didn't talk about this earlier that I'd like to talk about that I wish all of my buyers knew is that the first week we go under contract is the craziest, right? That's the most stressful. That is
yeah,
when you're submitting your full application to your loan officer, sending them all those papers, the W-2s and the tax returns and blah, 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 blah. Then the title company is asking you for a lot of the similar information, right?
yeah,
And then we're scheduling the home inspection and we're ordering an appraisal to go out. And All these things are happening within the first 7 to 10 days of the contract.
Yeah.
And it may be 30 days before we close, and especially first time home buyers. I'm like, the first week is going to be stressful. Let me take on the stress. Like, I don't want you to be stressed, but this is when you have to be on your game.
Yeah.
You have to get the lender all the paperwork they need.
Yeah.
We have to review that inspection report once it's complete. We have to either ask for things, not ask for things, or figure it out, our due diligence period,
Yeah.
and order that appraiser. And then once that's all done, go window shop for furniture. Just don't put it on a credit card, right?
Yeah. Don't buy nothing.
Don't buy anything, but go window shop, go decorate in your brain, whatever you want to do. But I think that's important for people to know that once we get through that first week, we're pretty much good to go and they can relax.
Yeah, the first week is hectic, like you said, 7 or 10 days. And then there's that 2 week lull where you feel kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. They reach out to me. Is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, like I said, we did everything. We
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
then around week 3 to week 4 is when they're wrapping things up. The title
yeah.
company calls to schedule the closing. You got to prepare to send the wire for whatever
Find
your
your
down payment is.
insurance, like all those things are right at the end. Right.
Yeah,
And some people do
absolutely.
insurance earlier, but other people wait until like sometimes we get the loan commitment. They're like, the only thing we're waiting for is insurance, but we're good to
Yeah,
go. Right. That
yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah, the last thing is, you're right. The last thing is probably uh, the home insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they get that, as long as everything else is good. Um,
We're good to go.
I think the only other thing I thought about that was, you know, the pictures don't tell the whole story of the home.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like we get to the house and sometimes it's even better. I went to a house that was in Claremont, like a 55 and older. Not that that matters. The pictures were horrible. I mean, horrible. And I'm like, I don't even know why they want to see this. We opened the door and it was like a model home. I'm like, this house should have been sold. It was on the market a long time, months ago, but it was the photos that did it. People weren't going to see it.
yeah,
But typically it's the opposite, right? Like
yeah.
the photos are super great photographer, and you get there and you're like, I'm pulling up the pictures. And I'm like, is this the same place? Like, where am I?
Yeah, that's when it's important that if you can't experience the home yourself,
Yeah.
a video tour can help, although it is kind of similar to pictures. Sometimes the
You
best
trust
thing
your
is an
agent.
agent.
So if you're working with somebody that you trust, like I know when I do video tours with my buyers, I will go in and I'll tell them if it smells good, bad,
Yes.
over fragrance, like they have a lot of scents here. They may be covering something up. Or
Yeah,
it smells clean. It's good. It smells clean.
yeah. Zoom in, zoom out. You'll do all that.
Yeah, I open underneath the sinks for them. I show them the ceilings. I'll let them know if I see a water stain or if there's dirt around the vents. If I see anything alarming, I will let them know because I've had so many buyers that have not seen their home until after they've closed. Like I just had one maybe 2 months ago. He moved from Seattle to Winter Garden.
Wow.
He actually saw the home 1 week after closing.
Wow.
So never did a final walk. I mean, I did the final walkthrough for him to make sure everything was still the same. Um, and you always think in your head, like of course I have to make sure I do the right thing because I always will, but I don't want anybody getting to this home and being like, this is not what I thought it was,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So it's important that if you are not doing it in person, you trust the person that's doing that for you.
yeah. Confirm it up for them.
Yeah. So I think that's another good one. Anything else
Sounds
you wish?
good.
What about sellers? We talked a lot about buyers. What do you wish your seller would know before they schedule listing consultations, right? Because you might not be the first one.
Sure, sure.
So what do you
Well,
wish they would know?
I think the hardest thing for sellers to understand is that sometimes agents will not give feedback
Right.
during showings, and sometimes agents will schedule a showing and will either show up 20 minutes early, 30 minutes late, or sometimes they don't show up. And
Feel
we
better.
can't control all that. It's
Yeah.
just Sometimes they're showing five houses and they run behind because of rain, weather, traffic, whatever.
Yeah.
And we try to tighten things up for their courtesy, but
And when
there's
it's
other
owner
people
occupied,
involved that we can't control.
right, I try to reach out to them and say, hey, it's owner occupied. So if you're gonna be late, please let me know. But it doesn't always work, because if I'm on a 5 home tour, sometimes I don't remember which one is owner occupied too. And
Yes.
oh crap, we're running late. It's owner occupied. You realize it like last minute. It happens. We're human. We try.
Yeah, the best feedback I tell people is an offer opportunity.
Right.
That
Yeah.
is your feedback.
I'm seeing a lot of things that, maybe we shouldn't be giving feedback, right, on behalf of buyers. I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah, I think
use
that's going to
that.
be the next, that's going to be the next thing is that we have to be careful if a buyer's not authorized us to give their feelings about a house,
Right, right.
then we're not really supposed to give their thoughts
Yeah.
anyways. When I give feedback, the feedback from me is things like access was easy, the home showed well, it showed like the pictures, um, mechanicals look good, you know, things like that. I try not to
Don't
teach to
give,
my buyers.
I don't give feedback often, hardly ever, honestly. Um, and I always want feedback on my listing, so it's kind of whatever, but I just was never good at giving feedback. But I feel like if my buyer was interested, you would know. Because I'm gonna call you up, right? I'm gonna introduce myself
Yes.
and I'm gonna say things like, hey, do you have any offers or whatever, things like that. When do the sellers need to close? And you're gonna know if they're interested.
And they change their mind.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah,
Sometimes,
we're gonna write an
sometimes
offer. We're gonna be sending you an offer, and then everybody's like, nah, nah.
Yeah, and sometimes they disqualify a house and they look at five others and then they come back to the first
And you don't
one
want to
and
say
requalify
anything
it.
bad about that house, right? Because now we're gonna go back and make an offer.
Yeah, so we got to be really careful about
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Um, but I tell people like on the listing side, the most important thing is traffic. How many people are looking at your house online?
right,
How many people are saving it? And then how many people are asking to come experience it?
right.
That's how you know the marketing's working. And if people are coming, then you're probably somewhat within striking distance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked about this, it's taking a little bit longer, but it'll happen.
It will happen.
Sometimes it's
It
not
will
even that it's
happen.
overpriced or anything, it's just taking longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, wait, I know we're gonna end this soon, right? Because we said we're gonna do a quick one, although we're probably
Yeah.
going for a long time anyway. I don't even know. We were gonna talk about one thing they should know about new construction.
Oh, yes. When a buyer is out looking at homes in general,
Yeah,
just while they're around town because they're trying to interpret the marketplace, right? They're going to see open houses on the weekend or whatever,
right,
and they're going to see new construction flags all over the street. So when you go to an open house, make sure they know you're working with an agent.
right.
And when you go to new construction, oh man, you must make sure they know you're working with an agent and register them. Otherwise, if you go back there 4 months later,
They're not gonna let you
the
work.
agent cannot protect you in the transaction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they
Or,
can, but you would have to pay them yourself instead of the builder paying them.
yeah,
And that's super important because some people think that they don't need representation,
mhm,
new construction. But new construction, first of all, the contract obviously is tailored to protect the builder.
correct.
Like that's what they do. You want somebody on your side. What I said to somebody the other day, in general, even on regular houses, right? Like
Yeah,
resale. Why would if you got arrested, would you want the prosecutor to defend you? Think about
yeah,
it, right? Like
yeah.
they're working for the state. They're trying to, the listing
Or have them
working for
facilitate the
the seller.
paperwork for you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need somebody working for you and to do all the things. Like the new construction salesperson is not going to tell you that you need a home inspection. I've seen
Mm-mm.
worse inspections on new construction than I have on other homes, you know? They're not
No
going
one's
to
lived
do all
there.
those things. They're going to just bypass all of that.
Yeah. Not to mention, I did two recent new constructions And the incentives that I got
More
for
than
my
what they would have got,
buyers,
yeah.
there's no way they would have
Plus
got
you
them
got
just
paid from the
walking.
builder, so like you got them more incentives, you got your, your compensation, it's not costing, especially with new construction, it's really not costing the buyer anything. The builders are
Yeah,
going to pay us, but and it's not about making money, it's about they're not going to know things. They're not going to know what they can ask for, and they can get maybe more in concessions.
yeah.
They can get a lower price. Maybe they can get the refrigerator included and the blinds that weren't included in, and all the things if they just had somebody speaking for them.
Yeah, we got some of those things. We got incentives, which were financial.
Yeah,
We got level 2 and level 3 on appliances and flooring.
right,
And they painted the garage, which for whatever reason, the builders now don't want to paint garages anymore.
right. Yeah. So why not be represented? Why not?
Yeah, yeah. And it was rolled into the transaction. So
Right.
it's not like they're going to give the money that's saved to the buyer. They're not doing that. They're just
Yeah.
going to keep it for
And
themselves.
now a lot of builders, you can make an offer now. It's not the price is the price
Yeah,
again. So you can
yeah,
actually go there and say, yeah, you have it listed at 300. We want to offer 280. Maybe
yeah.
a builder will come back at 290 and you just save 10 grand, but a regular buyer walking off the street, they see the sticker price, like that's it.
Yeah, they might be
A
coerced
few
into
years
just
ago,
paying
it
that.
was sticker price, or you were making offers and it was highest and best, even not new construction. But now, just like every other home, you can negotiate that a little bit. So be
Yeah,
represented. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes.
I think we covered a lot of what we wish people would know before we met. I mean, these are
Yeah,
things
just
that
some
come in
little
anyway, but
tidbits.
yeah, I think that was fun.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we can wrap this up and hopefully my delay wasn't too bad. Was it bad? I know you're looking at me weird, so I must be like, yeah, my camera's doing something different than my brain.
No, well, hopefully it'll definitely be corrected by the next time, but I think we're good to go.
All right, perfect. So we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, bye bye.